Well, I just saw the Floyd Mayweather versus Maidana match, and you know, when I first saw the fight, by the seventh round, I said, you know what, Floyd needs to win, at least, three more rounds for this fight to be, you know, at his favor. Because of course, when you win 7 rounds, the fight is yours. Of course, you want to win 8 to make it a sure decision. Mayweather did win a couple of rounds after the seventh round. Maidana did make it tough. And some people don't know how to score a fight. First of all, this is professional boxing, ladies and gentlemen. The way that professional boxing is scored is you have to measure the, let's say, the punching power, the effect on the punch. It's not like amateur. An amateur, if my Donna lands about, you know 10 little body shots, and Mayweather lands one to the head, Maidana wins the round because he has 10 points and Mayweather only has one. Professional boxing is not the case. Um, Maidana can hit him, he can hit like 10 body shots, and if Floyd gives those like two hooks with one straight, but those hooks really twisted Maidana's head, and that straight, snapped his neck back. Then of course, those punches they're gonna be more heavy on the fight. Now this is a tricky fight to score, and it's interesting. You have to also take in mind of how you approach a fight. When you take a look at Floyd Mayweather, you say, this guy looked great in his last fight. He looked tremendous, right? I don't think Canelo Alvarez did. I don't think he even landed on the jaw at all or on the head. Maybe very very few. Maybe he did land a jab, but it was very very. It was the effect on the punch was, Mayweather took it out. Maybe a few body shots, uh, but they weren't really effective shots. It wasn't like it moved Mayweather's rib cage or anything like that. Um, okay, given that, you say, okay, well, you're thinking Floyd is going to look the same way on this fight, right? But you also got to look at that on Maidana's point of view. My like just because Maidana didn't look like he did against Broner doesn't mean he's not winning the fight, right? Doesn't mean just because it's the same thing. If you're gonna look at it as a perspective from Mayweather, you gotta look at it from the perspective from Maidana. Maidana didn't look like he looked against Broner. You know, he couldn't manhandle Mayweather completely, right? Um, Maidana, I think in this is how I break down the fight. First round starts, right? Maidana's being aggressive. The only thing that Maidana lands during the first rounds is the left hook to the body. He lands that left hook. Nothing else lands, and he only lands it when they're in close quarters. Mayweather, on the other hand, gives effective, clean shots to the head. So, what do you want to score? Do you want to score 10 left hooks to the body during a 3-minute period of time? Or do you want to score, you know, 5 headshots? But of course, in between all this, Maidana is still punching. Mayweather lands 3 to 4, maybe 5 shots to the head, but that's it. Maidana, on the other hand, keeps punching, and that is what the judges see as, they gave him the round because he keeps even though he's not landing, he's still doing something. If you start one round between two fighters, if one boxer is jabbing the whole round and is jabbing the air, and the other boxer does not let his hands go, the boxer that's just jabbing, that he's at least doing the movement, he's gonna get the round. Why? Because the other boxer's not doing it. It's kind of like this is the difficulty of scoring these fights, of Mayweather fights. He's not consistent in the whole round. So the first round goes to Maidana. Second round, I believe Mayweather. Maidana's still doing the same thing. He's just landing these little left shots to the body. Some of them get past and go to the head, but like I said, it's not the same as a punch, a straight flush. You gotta measure the impact. So if I do this and I twist with it, it doesn't count the same as if I landed, straight, and snaps my head back. So Mayweather lands with more force on Maidana. You can see the even the jabs to the body that Mayweather lands, those hooks, he lands them way more stronger than Maidana. So I gave Floyd rounds 2, 3, and 4. Because Maidana is doing the same thing he did in round 1. And Mayweather, he picked it up a little bit. And he's landing way with, the punches have more snap. And I don't think that, me personally, I scored the fight 116-112 to Floyd. And I don't really think that Maidana, landing, he lands some body shots, and maybe some of those overhead rights got to Floyd Mayweather's head, but they didn't create enough impact towards where they can win. Floyd's punches were way more effective as in, as what I'm saying, as the punch being hard. They were way more effective. Some of the close rounds I gave to Maidana. The other rounds, Floyd won them convincingly. There was no question because Maidana was not doing. He has that thing where he's walking around Floyd and he's not really throwing. The only advantage that Maidana had was when he got Floyd on the corner, on the ropes, and he just threw punch. Now, granted, Maidana didn't really land all the punches that he threw, but he was being active, But if Maidana comes straight forward, first minute of the round, throws 20 punches, only gets about 3 good left hands to the body, 3 or 4, and Mayweather, second minute of the round, snaps his head back like 2 times, jabs to the body, right hook to the body, jab to the stomach, and those punches really land crisp. But he only threw like 12 punches. And Maidana, he threw more. So that's the question, how are you gonna judge this fight? And like I said, I don't think Maidana really did enough to actually win the rounds. Like 7 rounds. Go back to Ray Leonard versus Roberto Duran. I mean Roberto Duran did really manhandle Duran. I mean, Duran really did manhandle Ray Leonard, and he did whatever he wanted with him. That was not the case here with Mayweather versus Maidana. It's a close fight. If you have it a draw, I would not argue with you. Some of those rounds were like swing rounds. You can give it to either fighter. Um, but some of these rounds, I do believe at least 6 rounds Floyd won clearly, convincingly. Maidana, it was because of Maidana's output. He didn't throw enough, and Floyd took advantage of it. 6 rounds he won convince. If you want to take one out of my 6 rounds, that okay, but then that would leave. But then you're saying that Maidana won 7 rounds convincingly, which he didn't. Some of those are swing rounds. So if Mayweather won 6 rounds convincingly, and the other 6 are swing rounds, or maybe you can say, I'm gonna tell you one thing. Maidana didn't win 6 rounds clearly. Some of those are swing rounds. Some of those rounds are because Mayweather, Maidana was just, his output was greater. It just depends. But I don't really think that Maidana won 6 rounds. Clearly, he didn't. And that's just my opinion. And stay tuned for more videos on boxing. Thank you.